Peace, Farmer Courtney here. Lyrics, reggae music, and clearing of words. Today when I was working in the kitchen, I had this Bob Marley lyric pop into my head. There ain't no hiding place from the Father of creation. And the reason it was on my mind was because, I was working with food and thinking about famine, farming, and conversations, right? How do we break down the time to people, the fulfillment of prophecy, and just the time that we live in? Because there's so much entertainment and like fanciful narratives going on that, especially with the last 2 years of people having altered lives and schedules and being cut off from the grind of their normal routine and more social aspects of life, that everything streaming has been super popular. People have just been locked in and having their mind taught by screens, like whether there's a person who you recognize from classroom behind it or whatever. So there's good in it as well. We can settle on the best part. I'm able to attend study group in the European region under the leadership of Minister Abdul Hakim, right? I'm able to be in London at 2 p.m. on Fridays, which is a huge blessing. And then there's, all the other stuff that is just filling our mind. And so I was thinking about lyrics and just how, things are hidden in plain sight because we don't clear the words and we don't have a context necessarily. And then because of what I just described, we don't even know to ask what we don't know, because whoever you ask, 85% of the time is going to tell you, why are you even asking that question? And so, in any given circle that you're in, you're often not going to get a satisfactory answer. And, or you might get an answer 10% of the time to try to, that is skillful, but to try to put you off. And then you might be rewarded, 5% of the time with somebody that can really speak to your sincere question and direct you to a resource. And so, especially reggae music and the lyrics of reggae music were on my mind because I was thinking about just pivotal times in my development of questioning and like when I made certain changes, because I made that video yesterday talking about my history in the health food store and just in my youth. So I was thinking back to 15, 16, 17-year-old me and realizing that there was a transition point where just the feel-good entertainment of music came to a halt one time when I realized that nobody was talking about anything that I was desiring to know. I wanted something a little bit deeper. And even my father, had the quintessential like cliche Bob Marley box set. He had all his Grateful Dead albums, and then Crosby, Stills and Nash, Neil Young, who else? Eric Clapton, the band, all that kind of stuff. And then there was the Bob Marley box set in there. So I started listening to that, and then I realized, even though I didn't understand the meaning of a lot of these lyrics in truth, in earnest, in fullness of time, I just felt like, wow, he's really saying something more. So, this one lyric, there ain't no hiding place from the Father of creation, is stuck out to me because I've been also building, with a sister of mine about how to have better conversations, right? How to actually connect with other Caucasians out there who might have a love for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and be, seeking more guidance on what it is that he's teaching and how do they, learn more and study, or how to also like applying it to life and all of the questions, the conversation, right? The rich opportunity for learning. And I was just thinking about how, the context of these conversations is so difficult right now because I live, near a college town where there's a major Ivy League university, Cornell University. But then when you drive through the town, it's almost like you're in a preschool classroom. Like they have, the apex of like all their academic knowledge right up on the hill. And then it's like the emotional state is reflected of the people throughout the town of just all these signs, that look like they're made for children, and maybe they are, but like, you know, it's not a super heavy family town. It's like transient because of all the college students, and especially in this one area, it's a lot of young people, college students and things, but oversimplistic messaging. So that's why, you know, the Bob Marley One Love lyrics popped into my head as I was having all these thoughts as I was making navy bean ice cream. I was thinking, that's what it is. That's what keeps striking me, is this preschool level oversimplicity of instruction around emotions, right? So like, be kind, and then how we erroneously interpret one love, right? So if a person who has a certain degree of moral compass and anchoring in righteous behavior that has always been the standard of human interaction and things like that. So Bob Marley can sing One Love and write these lyrics, and they have a meaning. And then, you know, us in the 2000s and beyond, hearing this in America, Caucasians that are rocking out to this and thinking like, one love, yeah, like anything goes, right? Because we've been raised by public school and Hollywood, and we have this dumbed down version of how to really think about these things. And even this song, as I was, you know, looking at it again and reading it over, because I was like, oh, I know all the lyrics, but I don't think I ever looked at them written down, that, you know, like there's a lot in there that if you don't have the context right, it would just go right over your head, and you would just think like, oh, here's this simplistic, be kind, one love, you know, all of these things. And that's one of the things that I have gleaned from studying with people in the Nation of Islam, in, you know, in study group and in different groups in the digital real estate program and sister circle and things, is just how important it is to clear a word, to clear a phrase, to clear a meaning, to parse out a sentence. Because how are you going to orient yourself to the meaning of the writer or the speaker if we're coming out of a world like this, that it's pretty common to not be equipped with the proper perspective, you know, of the writer. And it's just also a good practice. So anyway, that was just what came to my mind today. I was, you know, I have examples from my own life. I don't mean to just seem as if I'm being critical. I was thinking back to a, you know, breakthrough moment of thought. Most of the time, you know, I've realized these things about myself, and then also see it in a wider context so that we can have a conversation about it. So my story is that even though, you know, I was listening to the lyrics of Miss Lauryn Hill, I was listening because that was actually the first time where I felt like I had been given a key of instruction. So when I first heard of Dr. Khalid Muhammad and watched him speak, then he gave me some context to pictures that I had seen of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad on the wall. I had seen a picture of Master Fard Muhammad, but I didn't have an opportunity to really ask a question. So then once that was in alignment, I thought, okay, now I'm gonna ask, right? So I asked questions. The sessions were never really long enough that, you know, that I was asking, because I had all these thoughts and questions bottled up and, you know, just rapid fire. And then at the end of one of these conversations, I was told, just go get Miss Lauryn Hill's new album. Just go get the Miseducation. Just go get it. And so I'm like, okay. So then I was listening and listening and listening to the lyrics. And while I may have gotten a little bit more out of them than people who weren't embarking on the same type of education that I was seeking, there were some huge words and meanings and things that I just didn't even get, that changed the whole meaning of the sentence. And it had to do with me being scripturally ignorant from being raised, you know, by public school and Hollywood, and not having any education and teaching about why is the Bible even important? Why does any holy book have any meaning? Because when you lie to people so frequently and you try to manipulate and like change people's perception and opinions and all these things, they know one thing for sure, that they can't trust, you know, your sources of information, and they can't trust that mind that kind of thing is coming out of. But then we don't really know what to put in its place, because you start to kind of experience this thing where people feel like, well, they can't trust anything. Like, how could they trust anything? Nobody really has the the authority to be an authority. That's where you're at. And if you're in certain settings, you might come across someone selling the final call with a word for you. But if you're not, you might just have feeling like, okay, maybe there is no such thing as God. Maybe anything goes. We'll just make up our own way. We'll just be kind to people. We'll just love everybody. We'll try not to, repeat the barbarous and murderous ways of our ancestors and people in history that we read about, and we think, okay, that that wasn't okay, but that was a long time ago. I'm not them. I'm not, all the narratives and things that Caucasians go through when they confront history and all these different things. So one of the things that just kept coming up for me today was my own experience of how I didn't even understand the meaning of the word try and trial in relation to God, because I didn't grow up reading any of the stories. I didn't grow up reading about any of the scriptural stories. I mean, I remember, the looseness of it, but I can't remember one conversation that I ever had with my parents about God, about any, like any of the apostles. Nobody. I didn't have any context of prophets or anybody. So I just thought it was all a charade. I mean, they wear these costumes and the Catholic Church, and it seemed like a big show up on stage, and everyone like methodically repeating the prayers and doing these things, following a script that I didn't know, and nobody told me to learn it, because I guess they didn't want to go through having to try to get me to believe it, because they could see from other things that I had done, like outing the actress who was playing Peter Pan when I was 4. She was like yelling at the top of my lungs, "She's on wires. She's not really flying." My mortified parents in the theater just like, "Shut up. You can't do that." So I think, by the time I was old enough to have any sort of theologian type theological conversation, they just felt like, yeah, we're not going to have any answers. We're just going to leave this alone, because they didn't probably believe it either, but it was just one of those things, right? That's just how it is. I would hear that a lot from people. So I didn't understand try, because in my life, like if I was trying something or trying something, here, this is really good, try a bite. Or, hey, does this jacket fit you? Try it on. Do these shoes fit? Try it. So when Miss Lauryn Hill drops the lyric of, if we love him like we say we do, he'll try us, I was really naively like, yeah, okay, try me. Like, I want to know what this all means, like I'm here for this conversation. Please educate me. Like, I want to know. I want to have more understanding of this, and then not realizing that, I guess, trial is still connected to that realizing the fullness of the meaning. And it wasn't until like pretty recently that we had an in-depth clearing of the concept of trial, the word trial, all of the different things. And I was just super grateful for the in-depth, multifaceted education that the members of the Nation of Islam are receiving, and then also able to radiate out to the world, to the people that they interact with and deal with and everything. And so anyway, that was just what was on my mind. And I just felt like, it's definitely important to include myself in all these conversations and not just sit here as if I'm being critical of everyone. I'm kind of, the other thing that came into my mind was just that a question that I used to ask a lot when I would go seeking information that I never found when I was young, like, 14, and I didn't come across anything for years. But why are we like this? When I was mostly in a very homogenous community by design, because, and that's a whole nother video, but I'm like, why are we like this? Why is it like this? Why are we like this? And the power of question just really struck me today too in the kitchen. I was thinking, wow, look at God, the power of question. Look at that. So yeah. So this is day 20 of my videos. I had a prompting on the 89th birthday of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to do 67 consecutive videos because of his 67 years in service to the Nation of Islam. I just thought, wow, 67 years. And then, prompting was like, you haven't even done anything for 67 days. It's time you got started. So I started, and that's what these are. These are just kind of, me sharing. So if you like these videos, thumbs up, hit subscribe, leave me a comment below if anything I said was impactful or interesting, or you disagree with something. Until next time, peace.